The sun was beginning to set on the horizon as the small vessel glided through the muddy waters of the Amazon River. The gentle sound of the water being cut by the motor contrasted with the dense symphony of the surrounding forest. Liam Thompson, a renowned biologist, was standing at the bow, observing with fascination the giant trees lining the river. Beside him, Oliver Winter, also a biologist, held binoculars and peered into the dense vegetation that rose like impenetrable walls. "I still can't believe we're here," Oliver said, breaking the silence. "The Amazon has that effect," Liam replied. "It's an immensity that seems never-ending." Catarina Nogueira, another biologist on the team, sat next to the forest guide, Pedro da Silva. Pedro da Silva, an experienced man who knew the region like the back of his hand, had an attentive look, as if every sound or movement was a potential threat. "Is something wrong, Pedro?" Catarina asked, noticing the guide's worried expression. "This part of the forest has its stories," he replied, with a mysterious tone. The scientists exchanged intrigued looks. Amazon stories were full of myths and legends, but they were there in search of something very real. Reports of a giant anaconda, a colossal being that few dared to mention, had surfaced in ancient documents and whispers of isolated tribes. Their mission was to document the existence of this creature. However, the forest seemed to have its own plans. Suddenly, the boat's engine made a shrill noise and died, leaving them adrift. "What was that?" Oliver asked, standing up quickly. Pedro frowned, opening the engine compartment. Smoke began to slowly rise. "It can't be. The engine is new," he murmured, visibly confused. Liam, with a worried expression, approached. "What do you mean?" "The engine was in perfect condition," he said, his voice tense. "It doesn't make sense," Pedro replied, while pulling the cables and trying to restart it. "But it was useless. We have to dock at that bank over there and try to fix this." The boat drifted gently to the shore, and the team disembarked. Twilight was beginning to deepen, tinting the sky with an orange hue, and darker shadows took over the surrounding forest. The atmosphere became heavy, as if the eyes of the jungle were upon them. "This is getting too strange," murmured Katerina. Gradually, the sound of breaking branches and leaves being stepped on became audible around them. Pedro raised his hand, signaling for silence. Everyone stood still. The sound of heavy footsteps and breaths approached. "We're not alone," Pedro whispered, eyes wide. Suddenly, figures emerged from the shadows. Men, with painted faces and bodies covered in tribal tattoos, emerged from the forest. Their expressions were blank, but their eyes were fixed on the intruders. "My God, they're Indians," said Oliver, stepping back. Pedro looked at them with an expression of desperation. "They're not just Indians, they're the forest cannibals." Before they could react, the men advanced. In seconds, the four scientists were surrounded and disarmed. A blow to Liam's head caused him to collapse to the ground, his vision blurring before fading completely. Captivity. Liam woke with a throbbing head, the metallic taste of blood in his mouth. He blinked several times, trying to adjust his eyes to the dim light. They were in a hut, tied with ropes made of vines. The smell of rotting meat filled the air, mixed with the stench of the humid forest. What is this place?" Katerina murmured. Oliver was beside her, trying to break free, but the ropes were firm. Pedro, though with an open wound on his forehead, remained calm, observing the situation. "We're in captivity," said Pedro, looking around. "If we don't get out of here soon, we'll be their next feast."